The heavy bag swayed under the relentless combinations as two young women pushed themselves through another grueling training session at Murphy's Boxing Gym in South Philadelphia. The sound of leather hitting canvas echoed through the old brick building that had been home to champions since the 1940s, while their coach watched with the critical eye of someone who had seen countless fighters come and go over 4 decades in the sport. Coach Vinny DeMarco stood ringside, his weathered hands wrapped around a cup of coffee that had long since gone cold. At 60, the former middleweight contender had found his true calling not in his own fighting career, which had ended with too many tough losses, but in developing the next generation of boxers in a city where the sport was woven into the fabric of working-class neighborhoods. The two women finishing their workout were among his most promising students, and increasingly, the center of emotional complications he had never anticipated in his carefully ordered life as a bachelor trainer who had devoted himself entirely to the sport. Jessica Jess Rodriguez was 26, a first-generation Mexican-American from South Philly whose family had emigrated from Guadalajara when she was 5 years old. She possessed the kind of natural athleticism and fierce determination that reminded Vinny of the great champions he had watched train in this same gym decades earlier. Her boxing style was technically precise but emotionally driven, fueled by a desire to prove that a woman from her neighborhood could succeed in a sport traditionally dominated by men. Her training partner and best friend was Ash Thompson, 24, whose journey to boxing had been more circuitous. The daughter of a middle-class African-American family from West Philadelphia, she had discovered boxing during her senior year at Temple University as a way to channel the frustration and energy that academic life couldn't contain. Her approach to the sport was more analytical and strategic, complementing Jess's instinctive aggression with careful study of opponents and tactical planning. Both women had been training at Murphy's for nearly 3 years, drawn by Vinny's reputation for developing female fighters at a time when women's boxing was finally gaining recognition and respect. The gym itself was a temple to Philadelphia boxing history, with photographs of local champions covering the walls and equipment that had been used by fighters who had gone on to win world titles. "Time," Vinny called out, ending their sparring session. "Good work today, but Jess, you're still dropping your left hand after combinations. And Ash, you're thinking too much and close. Sometimes you gotta trust your instincts and let your hands go." The women approached their coach with the mixture of exhaustion and exhilaration that came after a hard training session. Both were drenched in sweat, but energized by the physical and mental challenges that boxing provided. "Coach," Jess said in the slightly accented English that reflected her bilingual upbringing, "when are you going to find us some real fights? We're ready for more than just sparring with each other." Vinny smiled at her eagerness. "Patience, kid. You both got talent, but talent without discipline gets you hurt. I've seen too many good fighters rush into things before they were ready." The conversation that followed was typical of the hundreds they had shared over the years. Technical discussions about footwork and combinations mixed with broader conversations about the mental aspects of boxing and the challenges facing women in professional combat sports. What made this evening different was the undercurrent of tension and unspoken attraction that had been building between all three of them for months. Vinny had been trying to ignore his growing feelings for both women, telling himself that his attraction was inappropriate given their age difference and his role as their trainer. At 60, he felt too old to be considering romantic relationships with women who were young enough to be his daughters. More importantly, he was their teacher and mentor, responsible for their development as athletes and their safety in a dangerous sport. But the feelings were undeniable. Jess's fierce determination and emotional intensity stirred something in him that he hadn't felt in years, while Ash's intelligence and strategic thinking provided the kind of intellectual connection he had never found with women his own age. The fact that both women seemed to be developing feelings for him made the situation even more complicated. "Coach," Ash said as they finished wrapping their hands after the workout. Jess and I wanted to talk to you about something important. Vinny's heart began racing as he sensed the direction this conversation might take. Jess continued, "We've both been thinking about this for months, and we finally decided we had to say something. We've developed feelings for you that go way beyond the normal student-teacher relationship." Vinny was stunned by their directness. "Ladies, I'm honored by your feelings, but this is exactly the kind of situation that can destroy careers and relationships. I'm your coach, and more importantly, I'm 60 years old. You're both young women with everything ahead of you." Ash's response reflected the analytical approach that characterized her boxing style. "We've thought about all the complications, coach. But what we feel for you isn't just physical attraction. It's respect for your knowledge, admiration for your character, and genuine love for who you are as a person." Jess added, "And we're not just friends who happen to train together. We're like sisters who share everything. If we were to have relationships with you, it would be together, not as separate things that might come between us." The proposal that emerged from their subsequent conversations was unlike anything in Vinny's experience. The two women, who had been best friends and training partners since their first day at the gym, were proposing to collectively enter into a relationship with him, following their own understanding of love and commitment that prioritized their bond with each other as much as their feelings for him. "We've talked about this for months," Jess explained during one of their many discussions. "In my family's culture, relationships sometimes take forms that might seem unusual to other people, but what matters is honesty, commitment, and taking care of each other." Ash emphasized the practical aspects. "We know this won't be easy, especially in the boxing world where people love to gossip and judge. But we also know that what we feel for you and for each other is real, and we think we can build something that works for all of us." Vinny requested time to consider their proposal, and the women graciously agreed to give him space for reflection. Over the following weeks, he found himself examining every assumption he had held about love, appropriate relationships, and the direction his life should take. The practical challenges were significant. The age difference meant they were at very different life stages with different energy levels and cultural references. The boxing world could be unforgiving toward relationships that violated traditional expectations, and their unusual arrangement could damage all of their reputations within the sport. More importantly, Vinny was beginning to understand that he had fallen in love not just with two remarkable individuals, but with their approach to life, their dedication to excellence, and their vision of combining athletic achievement with personal fulfillment. After a month of careful consideration and extensive conversations with each woman individually and together, Vinny made the most significant decision of his personal life. He would pursue relationships with both Jess and Ash while maintaining his role as their coach, following their own understanding of love and commitment while working to protect their boxing careers. The transition from teacher-student to romantic relationships happened gradually and carefully, with all three partners conscious of the need to maintain professional boundaries while exploring their personal feelings. They established clear protocols for separating training time from personal time, ensuring that their romantic relationships wouldn't compromise their athletic development. Their relationship became public knowledge within the gym community when Vinny moved from his small apartment above the gym to a larger house in South Philly that could accommodate their unconventional family structure. The response from the boxing community was mixed. Some veteran trainers and fighters were scandalized by the arrangement, while others recognized that all three individuals were adults making informed choices about their personal lives. The first major test of their relationship came when both women were offered opportunities to turn professional, signing contracts with a prominent boxing promoter who specialized in developing female fighters. The step from amateur to professional boxing required not just increased training intensity, but also careful management of public image and media relationships. "This changes everything," Vinny told them as they discussed the professional contracts. "As pros, You'll be under scrutiny from sports media, regulatory bodies, and fans who might not understand or approve of our personal situation. Jess's response reflected her fierce determination. Let them judge. We know what we have together, and we're not going to hide or apologize for it. Ash added her strategic perspective. The most important thing is that we continue to develop as fighters while protecting what we've built together. If we handle this professionally and let our performance in the ring speak for itself, people will respect us regardless of their personal opinions. Their professional debut fights took place on the same card at the 2300 Arena in South Philly, a venue that had hosted boxing matches since the 1960s and was considered sacred ground for local fighters. Both women won convincing victories, with Jess demonstrating the aggressive style that had made her a local favorite and Ash showcasing the technical skills that impressed boxing purists. The post-fight press conference revealed the public dimension of their personal relationship when a reporter asked about Vinny's role as both trainer and romantic partner. Jess handled the question with characteristic directness. Coach DeMarco is the best trainer in Philadelphia, and we're lucky to work with him professionally. Our personal relationships are private, but they don't interfere with our commitment to being the best boxers we can be. Over the following months, as both women compiled impressive professional records and gained recognition within the boxing community, their unconventional family structure became less controversial and more accepted as evidence of their commitment to each other and to the sport. The most surprising development came when Jess became pregnant 18 months after turning professional, followed 6 months later by Ash's pregnancy. Both women had assumed they would need to choose between boxing careers and motherhood, but advances in sports medicine and their support system made it possible to plan for both. I can't believe we're both going to be mothers, Jess confided to Dr. Maria Santos, the sports medicine physician who specialized in treating female athletes. How do we balance professional boxing with raising children? Many female athletes have successful comebacks after pregnancy, Dr. Santos replied. With proper planning and support, you can be both champions and mothers. The pregnancies proceeded smoothly, with both women maintaining modified training routines under Vinny's careful supervision and medical guidance. The boxing community rallied around them, providing support and encouragement that demonstrated how much attitudes toward female fighters had evolved. Jess gave birth first, delivering a healthy son they named Vincent Miguel, honoring both his father and Jess's Mexican heritage. Ash delivered a daughter 6 months later, whom they named Grace Ashley, combining strength and beauty while honoring her mother's name. Suddenly, Vinny found himself at 62 managing the training and careers of 2 professional boxers while helping to care for 2 infants. The challenges were immense, but the support of the extended boxing community and the women's families made the situation manageable and deeply fulfilling. The children grew up in a unique environment, spending their days around the gym while their mothers trained and their father worked with other fighters. They developed an early appreciation for discipline, hard work, and the importance of pursuing excellence while maintaining strong family bonds. Both women made successful comebacks to professional boxing within 18 months of giving birth, with their return fights generating significant media attention and demonstrating that female boxers could successfully balance athletic careers with motherhood. Jess's comeback fight was particularly emotional, taking place at the Temple University Liacouras Center with her extended Mexican-American family in attendance. She won a decisive victory that established her as a contender for regional titles, while also serving as an inspiration for other young mothers who wanted to pursue athletic careers. Ash's return was more strategically planned, featuring a series of fights that gradually increased in difficulty while allowing her to regain the technical sharpness that had characterized her amateur career. Her analytical approach to boxing proved even more effective after motherhood, as the experience of balancing multiple responsibilities enhanced her ability to remain calm under pressure. Vinny's reputation as a trainer was enhanced rather than damaged by his personal relationships and his success in managing the careers of two professional mothers. His gym became a destination for female fighters who wanted to train in an environment that respected both their athletic ambitions and their personal lives. The extended boxing community had come to accept and even celebrate their unconventional family structure. Local sports media regularly featured stories about their success, while national boxing publications used them as examples of how the sport was evolving to accommodate different approaches to balancing personal and professional life. When people first heard about our relationship, Ash told a sports magazine interviewing her about women's boxing, they assumed it would distract from our athletic goals. Instead, having a coach who is also our partner has made us better fighters because he understands every aspect of our lives and can help us find balance. Jess emphasized the cultural dimensions. In my family's tradition, what matters is commitment, respect, and taking care of each other. Vinny has shown all of those things, and our success in boxing proves that our personal choices haven't interfered with our professional goals. Vinny often reflected on how their relationships had enhanced rather than complicated his effectiveness as a trainer. I thought falling in love with my fighters would make me less objective about their development. Instead, caring about them as people has made me a better coach because I understand what motivates them and what they need to succeed both in boxing and in life. As Vinny approached his 68th birthday and the women established themselves among the top contenders in their respective weight classes, they often reflected on the evening training session that had changed all of their lives. What had begun as a typical student-teacher relationship had evolved into a love story that challenged conventional assumptions about appropriate relationships while demonstrating new possibilities for combining athletic achievement with personal fulfillment. The children playing around Murphy's boxing gym spoke with Philadelphia accents that reflected both Mexican-American and African-American cultural influences, while developing the kind of confidence that came from growing up around strong role models who pursued excellence in both their professional and personal lives. Both women had won regional titles and were being considered for world championship opportunities, while Vinny had been inducted into the Philadelphia Boxing Hall of Fame for his contributions to developing female fighters and promoting diversity within the sport. When I first started training at Murphy's, Jess told a documentary filmmaker shooting a story about women's boxing in Philadelphia, I thought I was just learning to fight. Instead, I learned about love, about family, and about the fact that you don't have to choose between being a champion in the ring and being happy in your personal life. The legacy of their unconventional family continued to inspire discussions about relationships, professional athletics, and the possibilities for creating new forms of family structure that honored both individual achievement and collective happiness. Their story had become part of Philadelphia boxing folklore, demonstrating that the city's tradition of producing champions extended beyond just athletic achievement to include innovations in how people could live, love, and succeed together. As the sun set over South Philadelphia, visible from the windows of Murphy's boxing gym where their journey had begun, Coach Vincent DeMarco felt the deep satisfaction of a life that had found unexpected meaning through the intersection of professional calling and personal love. The aging trainer who had devoted himself to developing other people's boxing careers had instead discovered that his greatest victories would come not from championships won in the ring, but from the family he had built with two remarkable women who had taught him that the heart was capable of combinations as complex and beautiful as any he had ever seen in boxing. Their story continued to challenge assumptions about age-appropriate relationships, professional boundaries, and the possibilities for finding love and fulfillment through shared dedication to excellence, proving that in both boxing and life, the most unexpected combinations could prove to be the most effective when executed with skill, timing, and genuine commitment to bringing out the best in each other.